The Job Insanity Podcast with Erik Ten Haven. Episode number
13.
Let the show begin.
Today, Rene Suhardono is my guest. Rene is an Indonesian author of multiple best-selling books and currently very involved in changing education in Indonesia through his Limitless Campus initiative. Rene speaks about how he figured out in biology class that his father, at least the father he thought was his father and the person he grew up with, was not his real dad, and how he went looking for his Filipino dad when he was 28. This led him to see that his life was vanilla, as he calls it, to creating a life of conscious choices. He speaks about how knowing where you come from is important to figure out what you should do with your life. In education, Rene explains that it's built up of 5 components: consciousness, knowing yourself, understanding your surrounding, claiming your role, and perfecting your mission. Rene has a very clear view about how education should be done, and he speaks about it extensively. Rene also explains the sad statistic in Indonesia that high school graduates have a better chance of a job than university graduates. He has claimed his role to do something about education in Indonesia and launched Limitless Campus, a curated platform to design your life. This is the first interview where I dare to ask my guest whether he's actually afraid to die. And I will also explain why I asked this question and also my own views on this topic. Enjoy my interview with Rene Suhardono, public and TEDx speaker, author, radio show host and entrepreneur with a passion to improve education in beautiful Indonesia. Welcome, Rene, to the podcast.
Happy to be here, Erik. Thank you.
Good. Long-time friend of mine, Rene.
Too long.
Suhardono, where I wanted to speak to you for a long time. We have been speaking for many times, but this time
mostly over the phone.
Mostly over the phone.
WhatsApp.
Yep. And this time in person, and you were so kind enough to grant the invitation.
Thank you.
To do an interview with me.
I've always been curious about how you navigate your life, and now podcast. Wow.
Yeah, now we're going to talk about your life.
Scary shit. I don't know why I'm doing this, but okay, let's give it a shot.
Cool. So in this podcast, as you know, we're speaking to people that have made some really conscious choices about their life, how they design their life, how they spend their time, what they do to make a living. And that's sort of what I wanted to speak to you about. You have many faces and many characters, and hopefully today we can shine some light on some of them and see how you live your life.
It's always interesting, Erik, to hear someone talk about you, and the fact that I just heard what you just mentioned, it dawned on me: is that really my life? But thank you. You're very kind. I have many faces. I need to take note on that.
Which is a good thing, I think.
I hope so.
Maybe we can start a little bit with your background, Rene. Your English is fluent, but I'm sitting across a almost full-bred Indonesian.
Who's never studied abroad. But you'll notice, you pick it up here and there, that I'm a local Indonesian. Mm-hmm. Grew up in Indonesian family. Mm-hmm. Mom is Javanese. My dad is from Jogja, also Javanese, but he's the one who raised me. But another part that I know later on is that I have 2 fathers. My biological dad is a Filipino, whom I've never met until I was 28. So that was part of the soul-searching journey for me. The fact that I met my dad. I discovered my dad. I seek out for him, and I met him. So that part gave me a kind of a revelation on what I want to do in my life. The big milestone happened right there when I was 28.
How did you find out that you had another dad?
I was 15 actually. We were studying Mendel. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Mendel, it's part of a biology class explaining about hereditary. So the law of the blood type. So my blood type is an AB. My mom is A. The dad that I knew was O. So the only possibilities is 2. Either I'm my mom's biological son but not my dad, or I'm simply adopted. Those are the variable. But I kept quiet because I did
And
not.
you never knew up until that point.
No, never. Because I got all the love I needed, and my dad. I mean, if I had to pick only one, who is my dad, is the one who raised me, the Javanese dad, and I had no trouble, no issue with him. But that gave me kind of a So who am I? So what's the story behind me? But I kept quiet until when I was 19. My mom and my dad at that time, they were separated, and so my mom decided to tell me my life story. Is that, son, do you know that your dad is actually a Filipino? I'm sorry, I have not been telling you. And I said, oh, okay. And then she was, you're not surprised? I knew all along. You put me to school. And she was like, oh my God, you should have said something. But yeah, but I did not have the need to look for him until I was 28. I was stumbling upon choices in my life that I did not really know what to do. There was this, a voice calling something that, in a nutshell, it's that voice stated in order to branch out, you need to discover your root. So that's what I did. I did not want anything from my biological dad. I just want to pay my respect, my homage. That, hey, I'm okay. Thanks to you, I'm here. And I did just that. So with God's permission, I did just that. So that's good.
So can you, before we start from the change at 28, what did your life look like up until that point?
Pretty standard, or to be more honest, substandard. Everything was loaned to me. My name was loaned to me. All I did when I picked schools was based on recommendation by my uncles. I said uncles because I have 3 uncles who are totally pure academics. So for them, there's only University of Indonesia and the rest of the world. So the only objective in life at that time was to be graduated from University of Indonesia.
Okay, and you did?
Yeah. In a way, yeah.
In what field?
It took me a while. Economics.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I did not really, everything was vanilla. For those of you who enjoy vanilla, I enjoy vanilla as well. But this is just an expression that you couldn't feel a thing. So your life was pretty bland.
Was it a life that was living other people's standards?
It's like you're in IKEA store. You like it. The first time you see it, you like it. But when you live in it, you couldn't possibly live in it. Because that's what IKEA designed for you. That's what IKEA has in mind for you. But it may be different than what you want for yourself. But the 3 most important questions that we should be asking ourselves is, who are you really? Where are you coming from? And where are you going? These are the 3 questions that brings up consciousness.
Yes.
But along the way, we forgot about this question and we replace it with something somewhat seemingly more practical, like where should I go to school? What field of work should I go to?
What jobs should I take?
What jobs and what kind of girl should I be with? Who should be my friends? And those sort of things. But essentially, if we answer these 3 questions, or at least we attempt to answer these 3 questions, the rest will not be so much of a question at all.
Right. So, based on recommendations, you did your university, you finished it?
Yeah, in the hard way, because it took me 8 years.
Okay.
Out of a normal 3.5 years.
Right. And then, what age were you when you were finished?
27.
27. Okay. And then what did you do?
I was working at that time for the Indonesian Bank Restructuring Agency. It was a prestigious organization. Didn't like it there, but the idea that becoming part of something that is greater than you, something that's supposedly solved problem, the nation's problem, the debt at that time, opens up doors to possibilities, allows you to access to meet people. So from then, basically, I realized that life is so much richer. So, yeah, you are only as good as the people around you.
That's
so
right.
That part actually helped me a lot.
So then you worked there for a little while, apparently, because you were 27 till 28. Then you found your biological father.
Yep.
And then a whole different journey started, I think, as you mentioned, right? So
In a way, it's not instantly, but I built up confidence to do the thing that I really want. So instead of what people are telling me, of what society demand of me, I basically do what I think is right. And I started my radio talk show and attempted to write books and becoming a columnist, be part of a business and fail, and the business and fail again. And so that's I enjoy the journey.
So why after you recognized where you came from, you're saying, knowing your roots is very important to start what you want to do, right?
It is.
So how did that work in your brain? I'm very curious about that because I think there's something really interesting there. So you said, okay, I know where I came from, and then things change because then I know where I can go. So how did that work in your brain? How did you make that decision from okay, now I have my roots, now I know where I'm coming from, there's no secrets in my past anymore, now I go and do something different with my life?
There are stories about you. I mean, so you're actually at the end of the line of a long story of your creation. If I'm talking selfishly, that everything is about you. But you know what? By observing what has happened, the creation of you, why you are here at this moment, why we're sitting here, why we're talking about this at this moment, it gives you revelation. And when I say revelation, to put it more simply, is a confidence to make mistakes, to try out, to reach out. And those are the things that I think one way or the other everybody must be if they want to live a richer life, not in the sense of how much money you have, but in the sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. The story about the Cañoneos, that's the family name, the Filipino family name. It was originally the Leon. The family name was originally the Leon, but he decided to side with the local and change his name into something seemingly sound more local. Now, the idea that there's one guy who responsible for all the Cañoneos clan, very popular. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that. but in the end, he made his choice that led to his death. But you know what? I learned so much from that story, in that spirit still lives in me in a way. So that's from my father's side. Mm-hmm. Another story from my mom's side, who was helping Onigoro. He's a rebel during 1825, 1830. And he was one of Onigoro lieutenant who decided to flee when he was captured, when Onigoro was captured. So he lived on his own with his family until my mom and me. So much you can learn just by observing your past, if you choose to learn. I think that's the key word.
So you took those lessons, and then what did you do with it? So you said, you had some businesses that didn't work. You started your radio show. What are the activities that you jumped into that made
initially it was all practical. How to get more money, how to reach financial freedom at as young as you can. Why
was that important to you?
As I grew older, I realized that when you say money is important, it's because you couldn't find any other answer. And at least you have the comfort of saying that money is important. I'm not saying it's not important. It is important, but it is far less essential as you might think, because it is just a ticket. But a ticket to what? A ticket to where? That's what you need to decide. When I was younger, I did not really know what really matters, even after going through all those process. So I just felt that I need as much money as I can get. I need to be friends with as many cool people as I can to help me, design whatever future that I'm supposed to have. That was my inclination at that time. And how funny it sounds from where I stand right now. So
is your life now very different from that person?
Oh, completely.
So how is it different now?
After one failure to another, and then you realize something, that what is defined as failure is actually a lesson. That's one way to look at it. And that when you distill everything that you've gone through, all the failures, all the dealings with not so cool people, and you just realize, oh, what's really important for you. And now I can say, education is important for me, so much more than the money. I enjoy the idea of helping people discover the thing that I discovered in my life. So that's the essence of education for me. That part led me to this particular journey.
Yeah, and this journey of educating people, if I'm correct, that started already quite quickly, right? Because you're known as a career coach. You've progressed from that a lot now with other things which we will talk about. But that was sort of your first big, your image or your calling that you started to work on, right? Helping people progress in their working career with advice, with books, with seminars, with radio.
Yep.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you got to that point to do that, and what that brought you and what that taught you?
It's a combination of opportunity and one step upon the other. And you initially all I could think about is what can I do next? But along the way you realize that you need the after next as well. So it's not so much what you can view, what you need to do after this, but several steps after. And to do that, you need to dig deeper, and you need to see what's going on, and then you see a lot of things are not right, or are not how it should be.
Okay.
Like the problem with education. Would you be surprised if I shared with you that I stumbled upon the data that the number of unemployment, bachelor's unemployment, is in terms of percentage is greater than elementary schools unemployment in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So it shocked you that the higher education apparently is not serving its purpose. Out of 1 of every 10 people who are able to graduate bachelor, and apparently even along with that composition, they're not doing what they should be doing. They feel deserve. They feel that they need to get decent job. But how do they define decent job is in terms of compensation. I'm not saying it's entirely wrong. I'm just saying that's not entirely true. Because being an educated person, you take on responsibility. That's why in a way we distilled our understanding about education into 5 components. The first one is I coin it in bahasa Indonesia, sadar langsung. How do you say it in English?
So you're self-aware, or you're aware about what's going on?
Yeah, awareness, consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah.
And then the second is paham diri, means you need, first and foremost, you need to know yourself. You need to know your strength, your mission. I think it's pretty common in the Western culture to know about this, but it's not very common here. It is very, it is easier for you because what we uphold in this part of the world is the idea of obedience. You just need to do whatever the teacher's telling you to do.
Follow the elders, especially, yeah? People that are senior to you, those are the ones that you look up to and follow.
And not so much, I'm not saying that's entirely wrong, but again, there are other ways to look at it. First and foremost, you got to know yourself. How do you perform? How do you learn? Are you a reader or are you a listener? Those simple things. What do you believe in? What are your values? So the second component is know yourself. The third component is the ability to see your surrounding, to not only observe, but understand your surrounding, so that you understand what your surrounding need from you. It's it is obscene for you to comment how things are great in Singapore, how things are amazing in other part of the world, and compare it to Indonesia. Perhaps that's the reason why you're in Indonesia and not in those part of the world, because you need to do something here. But if you haven't got a tool to scan your environment, to see what is needed and to see which one you can do something about, then you are lost. The fourth component is about claiming your role. This is not about finding a job. Finding a job is just one tiny aspect of it. But why should you get that job in that particular company, in that role? What sort of growth plan you must have? So those are the fourth component. And the last component is about, the term is sempurnakan misi.
Perfecting your mission.
There you go.
Perfecting your mission in life.
Perfecting your mission in life.
Right. Now that's a tough question to answer, right? Because a lot of young
I'm still answering it.
I know, yeah, me too. But I think you and I both are answering this mission by exploration, right?
Indeed, that's the best
Failure,
way.
trying, and seeing what sticks with you, right?
Indeed, that's the best way. And people keep, if people are asking, what would be the sure thing? If you can give me tips, what is the 1, 2, 3? All I can share with you are the fundamentals, because my 1, 2, 3 will be entirely not contextual with yours. And you got to discover that on your own. Yes, it is tough, but it is also enjoyable at the same time.
Right.
If you never explore, like what fascinates me is when you told me that you spent 6 months on a holiday, and that's pretty wow. That's a massive exploration. Mm-hmm. That's a massive risk you're taking out of the seemingly safe routine that we're going through every day. And wow, I think more people should do that.
Yeah, I mean the trip is just an example. There are many ways to explore, right? And there's many ways to step out of the normal thing that many other people are doing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to grab back a little bit on the statistics you were sharing, because in the Western world, right, the common
denominator,
but the common practice is for parents to tell their kids, work hard in school, get proper education.
Oh, it's the same, isn't it?
Get a high grades. Graduate from
prestigious universities.
Sometimes from prestigious universities, and then get a good job. Here we are in a country where I knew the statistic. I didn't know it was that bad. Whereby a large part of the people that come out of university will not be able to get a job. Yet people coming out of elementary schools have a much higher chance of getting work, because the economy and society here still has a lot of low skilled jobs and a lot of labor that needs to be done, right?
Indeed.
So the myth that people are being taught in the West is even worse here.
Indeed.
So was that also a motivation for you to get into this education field and get to open people's eyes to other opportunities?
Totally. The way I see education field, especially higher education at this moment, is very similar to the era pre-Uber or pre-Gojek.
Right.
Why do you use taxi? Because there's simply no other means of transportation.
Yeah.
And once you know that there are choices, then you discover a whole new way of transporting yourself from one place to another.
Yeah.
The same with education. My argument is that we need to create a different kind of ecosystem where people can basically define their own speed, define their own means of educating themselves. So I question the idea of spending 3 to 4, even in my case 7 years.
I did 6 years, so I'm in the same boat.
In universities,
right?
With minimum understanding of yourself, by acquiring skills that will soon become obsolete once you graduate. What's the purpose in that? Because it's no longer about what best practice to follow. It's so much more about anticipating the future as it emerges. The ability to learn the changes around you, and the changes are happening so much faster than when we were younger.
Yeah,
you see, and this new norm need to be embraced by everyone. That degree doesn't solve your life's problem. That degree does not guarantee success. That schools is about learning and not so much about finishing. So those sort of things.
So what's wrong with traditional education, and what are you doing to change that? What businesses and what activities do you have now in your life that are making an effort to change this?
I claim my role basically to do something about this, so that one, people don't just accuse me of being a sore old man who hates everything, but it's just that I think an alternative means need to be discovered, and I brace myself basically to launch an initiative, a movement with many other people called Limitless Campus. The idea is that it's a platform, curated platform, to help you design your life. The term may somewhat be weird. Because in the end, it's your life, and you got to be able to design it. At least if people has a say, the final say is from you. And what we learn is those 5 fundamentals that we share, and it's so much more than just one-to-many kind of training or education. It's so much more about spending time contemplating on your own, exploring, experimenting, being with a group of people who share common interests, same object of fascination. We call these people who started before you. We call these people mentor and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And to give you context, because we simply cannot learn anything without creating it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to do it by creating something. It can be a business. It can be a movement. I know you don't like this word. It could be a startup. It could be a book. It could be a vlog. Anything. But the idea, if you create something, then your voice will be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Then you become contextual. You become relevant. That's the most important part. Without creation, it's just it's just you trying to, I'm not going to say the word. It's just you enjoy yourself, but you're not offering anything.
Yeah, passion without creation is one of your lines, right?
Passion without creation is nothing.
Passion without creation is nothing.
I mean, it's good that you comprehend, you understand your passion, but so what? It's not important for society to know your passion. It's very important for them to see you, to acknowledge you, to feel you based on your creation.
Yeah. Limitless Campus, is that for people of all ages, or do you have an age?
The first batch we started last year. We experiment it was free. So because we didn't know how to charge. We simply wanted to learn how people learn. And we launched it, and after a week there are more than 480 people. We're still not clear about ourselves, but apparently there are 480 people who are curious about what we have to say. And then out of 480, we got 63 who are pre-selected, and then out of that, 38 going through the process, and 24. The term is completing it the process. So they create something. There are 24 initiatives along the process.
So the result, or the graduation, or the completion is actually the creation.
Yeah, the creation. But now we learned something. The second batch will be somewhat different. We're using an apps. Basically, the apps is to schedule your own one-on-one meeting or training. Once you fulfill the minimum requirement, and then you can go through what I term the creation class. You will meet the masters. You get to meet all the coaches, and you got to launch your creation. So now it is segregated into 2 components, so people can decide how fast they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that apparently to create something, people has different speed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the essential thing to do. The good part about this is that some corporations begin to see, I could basically put in my challenge to be part of their to give them context. So that this become an interesting arena for corporation to recruit relevant people. No longer about recruiting the best people, but recruit relevant people. So from that, I think I'm beginning to see how this thing can be scaled up and can help many more people.
Right. And now it's paid. So if you want to join now, you have to pay your.
We're about to launch the next phase.
Right.
There'll be the first phase, the next batch. As I said, the first phase will be pretty much massive classes, which is 200, 300 people, medium classes, and then workshop, maximum 30 people. We haven't really decided, but most likely we'll ask them to pay some money. But the component, once you complete that, the other component are free.
Okay.
So the meeting with the coaches, so I'm taking Blake Mykoski's wisdom. You buy one, you give one. In the sense, you give to society or you can give to yourself. Once you complete this, you can get the rest of the creation process for free. So that's the idea.
How do you get your ideas? I know that you're traveling a lot. You're seeing a lot of things, especially also in Silicon Valley. You go there a lot too, in America, Canada. You go to the conferences there.
Yep.
How do you, first of all, why is that so important for you? And then what do you do with all these things that you see elsewhere?
Being in a new place, I'm sure you know the feeling, gives you a kind of good insecurity. It's like your senses that are normally dull because you already expect what to expect. You know it already. Is being tested. So it's like you become the new kids in class. So you need to sharpen that senses. You get to pay attention more because English is not your main language. And in Quebecois, in Montreal, French is the main language. So you really need to pay attention to what they're saying. And I like that. I like from time to time being in a situation where you're new. You're not familiar. You're in uncharted territory. It is needed. It becoming a need for me to sharpen my senses. The simplest explanation is that.
Yeah. And do you take things back and implement it here?
No, necessarily.
Okay.
Things are so much different. And I learned initially, I thought I would bring the movement back to Indonesia, but it's irrelevant because they're catering their needs. So as I said, the ability to scan your environment gives you better wisdom on what to do and the most importantly, what to ignore and what not to do. So that you can really focus on the thing that really matters. In my younger days, I'm sure you feel it. When somebody cool asks you to do something, a cool startup, something that promised billions, is going to be the next unicorn, you jump in the next opportunity. You forgot to ask how that it means to you, whether it's relevant to you or not.
Yeah.
As I grew older, the idea of it served a different purpose, going overseas, being in a new place, to really know what to pay attention to and what to ignore, especially when you're back.
Yeah, so you're not out there now anymore finding the best ideas and bringing them back to Indonesia.
There
but
is none.
You're bringing yourself back.
Yeah,
you're sharpening
there you
yourself.
Go. I like that. Yeah,
right? So you're bringing yourself back here, sharpened, refreshed, and with new perspective.
Exactly.
To do what you can do here.
Exactly.
And you're not necessarily what you've seen there, but in what you're doing here, right?
Exactly.
Very interesting. I hope you're not bored with this word, but you talk in your books and in your talks a lot about passion. In your columns in the newspaper, it says it's a word you can't avoid anymore. It's on your forehead. It's stuck with you, right? You talk about it a lot, but you have a different perspective about passion and about what that means in somebody's life, right? Can you explain, your thinking about how important passion is in what you do, and also how the key answer I wanted to ask you is, and everybody's asking you, how do you find it? And I've heard many people talk about this, but I want to hear your version of how do you find your passion and why is it important?
It's already within you, but the idea about talking about passion is, which I realized later on, create a different kind of hassle, especially in Indonesia, because you need to spend a lot of time explaining what passion is. And it's different from one person to another. Some people would say it's profession. Some people would say it's ambition. Some people would say it's work, it's jobs. I like to term passion as simple activities that makes you feel empowered, and those are key, because in a job there are numerous activities, but there only is some that makes you feel empowered. What does it mean? It brings you energy instead of you losing it. When you spend time in it, you feel energized. You feel like that's you, despite whatever result. Because, hey, bear in mind, by knowing your passion doesn't guarantee you become good at it. To become good at it requires a different kind of process. It requires grit. It requires consistency. That's what brings you to the next level, not the passion per se. So I question the norm that I propose to society, that passion is everything. It is not everything. It's a good first step, but don't be too focused on that first step. All you need to do is to move on. It doesn't matter what passion you like or what do you think is your passion. What matters is how you experiment in it, how you make something out of it. Because if you don't create anything, it's meaningless again. So, passion for me at this time is lies in the activities that makes you feel empowered. It's not that important than the idea of utilizing it to become good at it, to master it, and eventually the best creation are coming from the masters. And who are the masters? Those who never made mistake? Those who always make the best choices? No. These are the people who persist, who discovered themselves, and along the way begin to create something out of enjoyment, not out of compensation, out of calling, not out of necessity. So those are the things that I want society to focus on more. So that's why this book, if you notice, the latest book, it's about my first book, and I scratch it and I put something on top of it, because I find we talk too much about passion. Well, what we need to talk more at the moment is about being persistent, grit, and creation.
Persistent, resilient, patient. I had a long conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who has started to trade in Forex. And he has been trading for a year and a half with fake currency.
Bitcoin, something like that?
No, just trading different Forex pairs, right? So dollars to euros and whatever. He trades these Forex. And we were talking about the fact that, and he's been doing it for a year and a half without putting any of his own money. And he says it just takes time. And you need to stick with it to learn it, right? And that's a little bit about passion too, right? I think many people are trying to, pray to God for him or her to send down their passion.
Yeah.
And they wait their whole life for that to happen. Well, instead what you're talking about is you need to start executing, right? You need to start getting the signs from the things that you do that make you happy, because that's a good sign, right?
Because you will persist.
Because it gives you energy, and therefore you persist with it. Yeah. I really like how you look at this.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think it's very important. And passion is not like this huge thing that everybody needs to find. I think it starts to come from
subtleties. Quiet moments. Because there's no cheers. To be honest, Erik, remember the first thing you create something? Was it awesome?
No, probably not.
No, I mean the first creation is the first attempt is always terrible, and that's okay. That's why it's called the first attempt. But you gotta keep on doing it. You see, that's the whole idea. That's no big secret, no secret sauce, nothing.
Besides Limitless Campus, what are the other main things in your life that you're working on at the moment, which give you joy? Which I'm assuming you're not doing anything that don't give you joy, right?
I made a mistake of trading joy with what I thought would be the next big thing, and that's a huge mistake.
Could you talk to me a little bit about what it was without maybe revealing too sensitive things?
I got into startups, and apparently, it's burning money. Not only my money, but what makes me feel really bad is other people's money as well. And I think the word startups, it need to be reassessed, reevaluated, because in the end, it's not so much about the valuation game, the exit, it's nice, but but uh, but in the end, it's about how you can influence society to be better and how to put yourself out there. But by all means, I'm not saying this. I hate startups. No, I'm just saying be cautious before you coin yourself as a startup founder or try to create anything out of it, because uh, it could be pretty reckless. And I think what I like at the moment is focusing on the thing that I believe in, which is education
Yeah.
and so on. So
And beside Limitless Campus, what other activities are in your
Oh.
life that are related to that?
um, for the other thing that brings me joy is Impact Factory. This is basically a tailor. So we help organization to build moments, to create moments.
What's a moment?
Moment is a combination of people, time, and place. We go through the same office every day, but how come there are always these particular moments? And what if we can design it?
Mm-hmm.
The idea is culture requires moments, changes, transformation requires moments. Our job is focusing on creating that moment for organization. If we put together 100 people in a room for training, what we are investing is not only 1 hour time, but 100 hours of time. And not too many organizations are mindful about that. All they can think about is just bring a speaker, let them speak. That's it. I've done my job. No, it's so much more than that. It's on the individual level. Out of those 100 people, what would take them? What would move them?
So how do you do that differently?
Um, observation, painful, long observation, experimentation, exploration. They are no secret recipe, but we believe in what's the term in English? Epiphany. So if you do the unexpected, then people would pay more attention. You need to change the norm. You shake things a bit. Imagine if you just go into a place where the bosses will sit in at front and the lesser people sit behind them. Imagine if you go into the room, we manage to convince the leaders to be the first one in the room and to greet everybody. It changed. You don't need to say much. You don't need to say you're important. The fact that you were there earlier, the fact that you were there shaking hands with everyone, changed the whole setting. The speakers then become their role becoming less important because the people already feel that. So that's what I do pretty much. Change the situation, change how people sit, change how the procession. And the good part, some companies actually listen to it. Many simply choose not to because it's just that's not how they run things. But we don't need many companies to do it. We just need people who believes.
Yeah, people that buy into your way of doing it, right?
So that's Impact Factory.
Do you think that your passion changes over the time of your life? Are things
It's
for
not,
many people changing over time, or?
I don't believe people change. I believe people grow, or they simply don't. And part of the growth is your interpretation of what we coin as passion. Initially, I thought writing is my passion, but you need to be more specific. Writing about what, and to whom, and what context. So you cannot just write everything. If you say your passion is writing, you can write about education as much as you can write about politics, as much as you can write about plants. But that is not the case. So what I see in passion is growth. It's giving you energy to grow. And how you grow, that's up to you. And you may embrace more passion or different kind of passion. That's okay. But again, what matters is what you do with it. Whether you want to persist, whether you want to be resilient, whether you want to apply grit on it to create something.
Yeah. So for yourself, what is your personal plan for the next 5 years? What do you want to do next? What are your goals?
I used to be a very structured person and I can answer that easily. But right now, if I can I just put 1 year planning, because beyond that is just well, I mean, because I'm over. I have a tendency to overthink, Eric. This is not for everyone.
Welcome to the club.
So
I know what you mean.
I used to have a 10-year plan. Would you believe that? What I need to do, who I need to meet, what I need to have, and sort of thing. And you know what? To me, again, this is not for everyone. It's becoming less of an importance than what I the idea to plan from where you are right now, at least 1 year ahead. So that's how I see. Even in my own startup, I don't have any companies. I don't have 5 years plan. I just have 6 months plan. What do we want to do? We focus on the next big thing, and we see what it comes afterward. So if you're asking me, my next big thing is to get involved deeply in the creation of this new ecosystem for Limitless Campus.
Yeah.
Acquiring as many people as possible to take part, including you. That's pretty much
make
it.
that movement happen. Make that moment happen.
Make that moment happen, and the movement continues.
Yeah. For you, it's interesting that you say that you don't make long-term plans anymore. I sort of do them every couple of years, and then I stick them away. But what it does for me is that it sort
Gives
of
you learning.
It sort of
lesson
pre-programs my
yeah.
brain for, okay, in the end I want to go there somewhere, but I don't look at them on a monthly or yearly basis. I also don't have a ritual of looking at my long-term plans regularly, but I do make them every once in a while. But it's like every couple of years I sit down and I go make one of these things, and then I put them away. And what I want to ask you is that, okay, if you live your life that way, you're basically looking a year ahead. How do you determine what you spent your time on? How have you decided that you do want to spend time with me recording this while maybe not being with your family? How do you decide where you spend your time?
Wow. That's a tough question. To be brutally honest, the focus at the moment has always been family. Family matters means that family is the single most important thing you do. And I've gone through episode in my life and I almost screw up my marriage, and I want to make it right for Muna, my wife, and that's why I refocus everything. The desire to get involved in. Initially, I thought part of the 5 years plan is to be in public office, but apparently I just don't cut out for that, and I knew that. Thank God before it's too late. So right now the instinct is I need to talk everything with my wife. So the idea that she knows I'm going to meet you. Why? First, I like meeting you, and I think it's good. You've always been a friend, and your idea has always been intriguing. But I also talk to her about what I want to do. It's not so much of her approval, but we made conscious decision to walk this path together from now on. And whatever decision that I do, I need to get her involved. That's my conscious decision. So the mode at the moment is mostly that. Will this change? Perhaps, I don't know. But our idea of enjoying the moment here and now is greater than it has ever been. We have 3 children. We want to give them the best future, but the best future begin from the best moments. One of them decided she wants to get a homeschooling, something I would never cater a year ago. But right now, I think I'm ready to take the role to teach her, to take that role gladly, and I think that part of the norm. The rest are less important. In terms of financial aspect, how do I, before you ask the question, how do I meet ends? I'm not a religious person. But I consider myself a spiritual person. Your life is already fulfilled. it's the need is already fulfilled. It's just how you define needs and wants. It's a two different thing. In terms of planning, as long as we already have put money in mind, we set aside money for future, then everything should be okay. This is another part where I want to learn from you on how to activate that passive income, especially to give Muna contacts, because she loves property and she wants to learn from the expert.
I told you already. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah. So I'm focusing on being a good hunter. Yeah, you know, I like the norm of a hunter, because what they do is that they hunt and they bring it home.
The hunter, as in the role of the man.
The role of the man. They hunt and they bring it home. So focusing on that.
Okay. Are you afraid to die?
It's a good question. I'm curious about death. How it would. I've read so many things, and I think as you grow older, this concept dawns upon you that you don't have that much time left, And if you're asking me now, no, I'm not afraid to die. I'm just curious on what it would mean for me and for my children. I'm very mindful that probably my kids will miss me. My grandchildren, not so much perhaps. My great-grandchildren may not even remember me. Or they may stumble upon this podcast with you at some point in time, but I'm not counting on that. So, yeah. Well, why do you ask that question? Do you?
Recently, not recently, over the last 5-6 years of my life, a lot of things have happened. A lot of people got sick. A lot of people got seriously sick. Some people passed away. But as I'm now 46, I'm now getting at an age whereby I have people that are my age that have incurable diseases, that are on a path of dying. I had a very close friend of mine who had a stroke, and it has made me very aware of the fact that if you're fit and healthy and capable, you should celebrate life as much as you can.
Indeed.
And it also has done a bit of what you're talking about, and that is bringing my planning perspective back to, let's think about the next 3 months, next 6 months, because you never know what happens.
Indeed.
I'm not scared of the fact that, something might happen to me, but recently it has become really a thing on the forefront of my mind that, look, we can't take health especially for granted. I mean, if you fall over tomorrow, I mean, it's bad for everybody around you, but you won't probably be that affected. But if something happens that disables you, that's bad.
Indeed.
And or if you know that you have limited time to live, that's bad. And so it's not something that scares me, but it has come very close recently. Both my parents have passed away already a while back.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but strange enough, that does less to me than my friends at my age having something.
You kind of expect that your parents would.
You expect that would happen at some point, and it's still, of course, very sad. But it's part of what's normal. But if somebody of 30-year-old, a famous person in Indonesia, Julia Perez, just passed away from cancer.
How old is she?
I think she was 34. She's very young. I've, like I said, I've got other people my age now that have problems, and that makes me realize, like, okay, everybody always says, life expectancy goes up. We are all going to grow, to be 80 or 90. Well, I mean, that might be an average statistics that is true, but that might not be true for you and me.
Of course. Well,
you can't assume that you're the statistic, or you're on the plus side of the statistics. You need to be aware that life is here.
The number is absolute for you, whether you would die early or later.
Yeah,
that's a certainty. Yeah.
And for me, that has really driven me in this obsession with thinking about what I do with my time. Like you, family is very important. I don't have an office anymore. I work from home. I'm there a lot. I know my children are, they're 13, 11, and 8. So they're at an age where I've got a couple of years to
Yes,
nurture them.
It's almost the same. Mine is 12, 10, and 8.
Yeah.
Similar.
So we have a few years to nurture them, and then hopefully we've planted the right seeds, and they go out and do fantastic things in their lives.
Yeah.
So I'm in a very similar.
Thank you for asking that question. It got me into overthink mode again.
Don't overthink too much. If you would go back, Rene, to your 20-year-old self, and you would have the chance to stand in front of him and tell him, let's say 3 things that you now know that you don't know when you were 20 that could have massively improved your life. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
First and foremost, I may not want to spend time with my younger me because I will definitely dislike him a lot. He would be obnoxious. He would be hard-headed. He would think he can rule the world. So I would. Well, what am I going to say? It's a very good question. Take your time. I think enjoy the moment. That's the thing I wanted to say. I doubt he would listen, but the thing that pops into my mind at the moment is, hey, every moment is precious. You let go of that precious moment out of what you worry about the past and the future, and just be there. Just enjoy being there. Enjoy not knowing. Enjoy being clueless. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process. Yeah.
If you're in the moment, what do you do to be present and not distracted? How do you create, well, it's a bit of a cliche, but how do you create quality time? How do you make sure that if you're in something, because being with you gives me that feeling, right? If I'm being with you, you're present. There's no distractions usually. Phones usually, we haven't touched our phones. And that happens all the time when I meet you. How do you do that? How do you make sure that you're present with somebody, with something, with an event?
I think on the mechanical part, you set aside whatever it is that's distracting you. That's goes without saying. Conscious decision of not touching our phones, of respecting whoever in front of you, that really matters. It's easy to say, but it's damn difficult to do. The other part is that probably because what you can do is the word is feel, Erik. I think if you realize that everything is specially crafted, is specially bestowed upon you, so it's not just like everything is crafted, and then you become to see the subtleties, to see the change of your expression that fascinate you, to see the change of the tone of the voice, to feel how that train going around us, and then you just know, because the idea of being present is not putting judgment, it's not putting opinion, and that what disturb you, that's what distract you the most. It's about observing. I'm sure you know the difference. It's you don't have any opinion. It's not because you don't want to or you should not, but it's just you don't have any opinion. You just let it happen. You just let it occur. And for those who are control freak like me, it's a tough things to do.
Did you have to train yourself to do this?
Yeah. I have my coaches to train me about mindfulness, meditation. I've taken that in the past, I think, 2 years, and it has helped me. But yeah, I would recommend that to people.
Great. Before I ask my final question to you, you have many ways that you're present in the world, but if people want to talk to you, reach out to you, say hi, comment you or compliment you on this interview, how would you want them to get in touch with you?
I think the best way would be email.
Okay.
Rene.canoneo, Rene.canoneo@gmail.com.
Okay.
I also have the series called Ask Rene in Instagram. I'm just it's 3 episodes now. I'm just testing it. It's quite well. So if you have any specific question,
It's video?
no, unfortunately, I'm not as savvy as you. It's writings. My word of my language of love is writing. So
Yes.
I put it there. So just ask your question, shoot, and I don't claim to know whatever. I don't claim to know all the answers. At least I will attempt to answer.
Good. Well, I would recommend you go and find Rene's books. I will link all of those up in this
Appreciate that,
episode
Erik.
as well, and all your businesses. There's so much going on in your
Thank
life,
you.
and you're very present, so people can easily find you.
Thank you.
And go and listen to you on Sonora in Indonesia.
Yes, thank you, Erik.
My closing question for this interview, Rene, is what does the word freedom mean to you?
Ooh. What does the word freedom means to me? It's freedom is life. Freedom is a moment. Freedom is enjoyment. Is contribution. It can be manifested into so many ways, but essentially it is yours. Not when you have it, but now. You have it already. The freedom of mind. Nobody can tell you what to think or what not to think. So you already have that freedom part in you. But the question is whether you want to exercise it or not. I dare those of you who are listening to us to exercise that freedom, not so much in terms of the mind, but in terms of action as well. Because, hey, you just have this one life, man.
You only have one.
You only have one.
Rene, thank you so much for the interview.
Erik, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for listening to the Job Insanity Podcast. Please visit jobinsanity.com for more information and show notes.